is your Classic Metal Show right here on the ClassicMetalShow.com. The name of that song is Where Are You Now? It is from an album called Ride to Nowhere. The band is Inglorious, and on the line right now we have the lead vocalist of the band Inglorious, and a fine vocalist at that. If you've heard any of the three records, it is Nathan James. Nathan, how are you, man?
I'm very well. Thank you for that lovely intro.
Sure. Well, I got to tell you, man, as a fan of all three records, I've got to say you guys are, you're on top of your game right now, and it just seems like you guys are getting better and more creative with each release, man. It's refreshing in a time when everybody is saying that rock and roll is dead. It's far from it, huh?
Yeah, I think so. Definitely here in the UK. I don't know much about what's going on in America, but here there is a definite buzz about young British bands, and a lot of it is to do, I think, with our label, who are signing absolutely every one of them, which is awesome of Frontiers to do so.
Sure. Now, I have to ask before we get into the new record, I mean, obviously Frontiers is your label, and I have to imagine when you first went into it, though, it had to be daunting given that, 85% of their acts are, previously established bands. Was it difficult to establish yourself, because so much attention would automatically be given to the Dokkens and the LA Guns and the Stripers of the world?
I don't know. I think what's awesome is that the label recognized that without bands like ourselves and Animal Drive and The Treatment and these younger bands that are being signed, is that there's only so much longevity to the label. And Serafino from Frontiers has worked so hard. I think he wants to continue for many, many years. I'm really sorry. There's a horrible sound. It's actually my pet guinea fowl making a right fucking noise. So I'm going to move.
All right. It's all good.
I have like 100 chickens and sheep and pigs and stuff. So they're fucking everywhere and they're loud.
Very nice. Is that your fallback to do like farming?
No, it's kind of a hobby.
Okay.
But I love it. I love animals, and I love fresh eggs in the morning, and
Sure.
I like being surrounded by animals all the time.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, Nathan, let's talk a little bit about the new record. I as a fan of the first two, I think you guys have taken a huge leap forward with this record, and I'll tell you why. I think two reasons, really. One, I think the songwriting specifically, is a lot better and a lot more diversified than maybe the previous records. But I also think that you guys really, really stepped up to the plate with a lot of pressure being put on you by a lot of the labels, these labels of, the British press, like you were saying, putting a lot of pressure on you as the saviors of rock and all that stuff. Talk a little bit from your perspective of the growth that you see from the two record to Ride to Nowhere. And if you did feel like you had to produce a little bit, like some sort of pressure to produce a better record.
We kind of have felt that with every album so far. I think our first album was such a surprise to many, that it was so strong. It was such a strong debut album.
Sure.
Then we had to follow that up with a second. And with this third one, we knew we had to do something different. And I think we nailed that. I think it is different, but it still kept our still wore most of our influences on our sleeve, but also showed people that we also liked other things, and that we enjoyed the music of the 90s as well as the 80s and 70s. And I can write songs that aren't just about fucking, or like aren't about going out and partying or etc. So it's a bit more of from a lyrical point of view, it's a much rounder album. I've covered a lot of things that I've never spoken about before. And I've talked about a lot of people and relationships that I never thought I would speak about. But I suppose that's growth in me as a writer. And as a band at the time, we were so conscious of getting it done quickly, as we always do. That's why we record the albums live.
Sure.
And I think you capture magic in those moments when you are under pressure, and when you know that it has to be good. We just know how to bring it, and I think that's the key, is that if everyone in your party, the producer, the engineer, the musicians, the singer, is doing the best of their ability and working their balls off, then you can make some magic. And that's what happened again with this album.
Sure. How do you go about avoiding simply redoing things that you did that had success previously? I have to imagine that, you have a hit song or you have a hit record, and there's a piece of you that's like, okay, that worked, let's do that again. How do you, and you guys don't seem to do that. So how do you go about avoiding, recreating the same thing that you've done?
It's fun. We find, like with everything, it starts with a riff mostly. I write on top of music as opposed to coming up with things. I like things that are instantly grabbing. Hardly any song starts just on a vocal,
Right.
So I like to find, the boys will come forward with a riff. If I like it, we turn it into a song as a group, and then I go away and I put a melody and some message behind it. And yeah, with this album, it was the same sort of thing. If I heard something that sounded like something we'd done previously, we just binned it. So straight away, if we're like, oh, it's kind of like that, we'd get rid of it, because between 5 people, if you can't come up with something original, you shouldn't be fucking doing this.
Right.
Like, really, we're not old, I'm 30 years old. I've got a lot more music in me. I don't have to start rehashing stuff yet.
Right.
And I think that's interesting as well going forward with the new lineup, is that come the 4th album, we're going to have that excitement again of new people and new minds and new riffs and new ways of playing. And I think it's important to just keep not striving to be different, because if something came out and we wrote it and it was amazing and it sounded a bit like Until I Die, we'd probably put it out.
Okay.
Because the label would want it out. But we have full control over ourselves creatively, and I kind of keep my album very close to my chest until we deliver it.
Very cool. The big news of the record is that you worked with Kevin Shirley. And
again, what amazing.
And I mean, he's an amazing producer. And I'm always curious when younger bands, not that you guys are brand new anymore, you're certainly not, but when newer bands work with somebody that has that much history, I'm always curious how you find the balance between his opinions as being the law versus you guys' own instincts as a band, saying, no, that's not what we want to do. Is that, and I know Kevin, and I know Kevin is not exactly a guy that's soft, so
no,
go ahead.
I think with Kevin, he only takes on stuff that he likes,
Mm-hmm.
So I think he digs what we do and he just enhances that. And I think that's why it works. He's such a fucking incredible talent, that, he listens to a band. He gets kind of what we're going for. We tell him our influences. We tell him what we like. He sends us a few mixes, and then we go, actually, can we have it more like this? And I think Kevin also understands. He's worked for so many people. He wants to deliver an album that the band loves, because then we can't complain if it goes wrong,
Right.
If it bombs, then we don't go back to Kevin and go, well, it's your fault because you did this. So I think he's really respectful of the songs that have been written, and he seems to be a genuine fan of what we're doing. And I can't believe that. It's wonderful that he wanted to work with us again on a second album, and wonderful that I get to join a list of singers that have been mixed by that legend.
Sure.
It's so humbling.
Sure. Has he brought out things that in the songs or in the vocals that you didn't hear yourself, that you really were like, well, I never thought of that, and and he really helped you find new avenues to approach songs and music?
Yeah, it's that. To me, it's his vast understanding of, like, he's seen so much happen to the world of mixing and producing, because he's been in it for so long. So he's not ever imitating something from the 70s. he genuinely was there. He knew he knew how the fuck to get that sound. He knew what to do to the vocal in order to enhance that. And that's what you get with Kevin, is it's so authentic. And I think a lot of other younger producers would get hold of our band and would try and emulate that. Whereas Kevin's not doing that. He's just doing what he does and what he has done for bands for the last 40 years. So, yeah. Yeah,
no doubt, man. Well, Ride to Nowhere definitely is a I don't know what diverse record, I guess is a good way to put it. You've got rockin' songs, you've got cool ballads. My favorite tune is Never Alone, and I very much think that that's the best song on the record. For one, it's musically great, but two, it is arguably your best vocal, in my opinion, that you've done. You know, how do you feel about that song, and do you feel like that one really was where you stretched out on the record?
That is a really special song to me. I actually wrote it about one of my best friends who passed away last year. And she passed away, she lost her battle to cancer, and I was living with her when I was a teenager. She kind of took me in when I left home, and she looked after me, and I will forever be grateful for that. And this was kind of an opportunity. When I heard the first chords from the guys, I knew it was going to be about her. And as soon as I sung the chorus, I thought, yeah, okay, this is brilliant. So it's literally like me. It's basically me just telling you what happened, and how the chorus is about how much I love her and how thankful I will always be for her, and how I hope she's okay wherever she is. And yeah, it's a real special song to me. But there's a lot of songs on the album like that.
Okay.
This time round, where I wrote more about my feelings. Queen is a song about my mother on this album. Then there's Glory Days, which is about a relationship of mine that I thought was with my soulmate, and it turned out not to be. So there's a lot of songs on this album that are more personal than I've ever delved into writing myself, you know.
Mm-hmm. And it definitely, you know, shines through brightly. It's, you know, I think the fact that you write so much based on your own life is probably the reason that it rides like a roller coaster when you listen to it as a fan, because it does take you up and then down and, you know, left and right as you listen. It's very much emotional, which is a cool thing in these days where music is so homogenized and just, you know, cut and pasted. It's great to hear from a fan anyway.
Good. And these are all things that we all deal with, you know. Like, I'm not recreating the wheel here. Do you know what I mean? I'm just, we all grieve at some point in our lives. We all lose a loved one. We all end our relationships for whatever reason. We all have people lie to us or cheat on us, these are all things that are very, very normal. I just think a lot of times bands, especially in our genre, are more concerned about writing about fucking and getting pissed up.
Right.
Translation, drunk, for those Americans out there. But yeah, it is about that, some of it, you know. There is a lot of that in life in a rock band, but there's so much more as a person. And I just felt on this album I needed to honor those people in my life that have been so crucial, be it for a positive or negative way, because there's songs on there like Where Are You Now and Liar, which are kind of directly about people that I'd be quite happy never to see again, you know. So it's a very honest album, I think, is what I'm trying to say.
Sure. What do you think is the next steps that need to happen for Inglorious to get to the level that you want it to get to? Because, you know, I'm making the assumption that, like every other band I've ever met, that you're not where you want to be quite yet.
No, of course not. I'd like to take it more international. I'd love to go over to the States. But we've kind of got a name here for ourselves. And what I find amazing still is that we earn money doing this, you know, like Inglorious is now a business that in the UK I can earn a living from. which I'm very happy with. However, if we go to the States, you kind of start at the bottom of the chain there.
Right.
So it's all about picking that right time when you've got enough momentum and money behind you to go over and do those things and start at the bottom again and work up. But yeah, I think ultimately for us, we'd love some of those big stupid tours supporting people, like your heroes, the Guns N' Roses tours and the Def Leppard tours and all that kind of stuff. But I don't think they make a band grow. Honestly, I've seen so many people support these big bands that haven't really done anything,
right?
And aren't pulling the same numbers as we are, especially in the UK. So I kind of think we just keep doing what we're doing.
Sure.
And at some point it will happen. It took Queen 4 albums to anyone to pay attention to them, and I mean they just won a Golden Globe. So
sure. And you know what? You're so right about getting on with a bigger band not necessarily helping. I have 2 different friends that have bands that toured with Tesla, and I'm certainly not shitting on Tesla. I like Tesla, but they're a much bigger band than these bands are, and both of them came back, in debt. Yeah, and not being a household name. So you're right, man. I think there's something to be said for just establishing it the way that you are, which is keep putting out great music, keep doing interviews, keep reaching into other markets as best you can, but not necessarily selling yourself out to where it's do or die once you do get out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what
you're right. No, I get it. So Nathan, what's
We'll just get on with it.
What's that?
Sorry, no, what were you saying?
No, I was just going to ask you, what are the tour plans for 2019? Are you going to be touring all over Europe, or what are you looking at?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got the UK tour that starts on the 28th of this month, and then we're going around Europe a little bit. We're going to France and Germany and the Netherlands. Then festival season, we're playing these huge, great big festivals around Europe, and headlining a couple of festivals in the UK. And then we're looking at going back on a huge European tour later in the year, and also perhaps doing some acoustic shows with a string quartet and kind of stripping the songs back to the original way that we wrote them, which was acoustically. And I'm really excited about that. And yeah, so that'll be fun in time for Christmas.
Absolutely. Busy year, man. Definitely. That's awesome. Well, Nathan, the name of the album is Ride to Nowhere. The band is Inglorious. And as a tradition on the show, we always let the artist pick a closing track from the album, maybe tell us a quick story about it. So what would you like us to wrap this interview up with?
I think I'd like to wrap the interview up with a song called I Don't Know You. It's a very powerful song that was co-written by one of my best friends, Heather Leone, who actually features on the Japanese edition. We do a duet version of this song, and it's a beautiful song, and I really hope people enjoy it.
All right, well, let's check it out right now. It is Inglorious right here on your Classic Metal Show.